All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We don't have really anything to cover data-wise here. We don't really have anything on the calendar, honestly, until like Wednesday. Wednesday, we've got PPI. Thursday, CPI. Friday, we have some inflation data. But overall, outside of CPI, it's kind of a quiet week. There's not a whole lot going on this week. All right, let's take a look at our trade plan here. Let me pull that up. All right, looking at our ES trade plan here, we said holding above 6,500. That's the value high of Friday. We're going to look for 520, which is just basically where that volume starts to pick up. A little bit of a node there. And then 42, which is the high of day. Holding below 500, we're looking for 55, which is the full value retrace. You could also target that weekly magnet, the weekly open, at 83. Then we have 38, which is a lower value level going back to Wednesday. So pretty straightforward trade plan, nothing too crazy. Right now we have a P-shaped profile, flipping the lowercase b of Friday. So a very small bullish bias here. If we don't have that overnight fade, right? All right, same story on NASDAQ, holding above 760. We're going to look for 902. That's the high of day. You could also target that node the same way we're targeting it on ES. That'd be around like 840, somewhere around there. 952, a couple of extension levels up there. Holding below 760, we're going for 525. That's that full retrace of Friday. And then I put 525 again here. That was a typo. It's supposed to be 444. That's that next level. There you go. 444 is that value level down to Thursday. Also showing a P-shaped profile. So if we hold on to that value low as support, we do have a very small bullish bias. Now that's if we don't have that overnight fade right out of the gate, right? All right. How's American Eagle doing? We're still holding on to that. Trading close to 19. Let me check my trail on American Eagle. I think it is. Let's see. It's at 1775, so basically losing this value low here. So if we continue to break out today, I'll probably raise the trail to like 18 and a quarter, 1850, somewhere around there. But right now, it's a break of that value low, which is giving away quite a bit. It's giving away like a little over $1 from the high. So I'll probably raise that pretty aggressively if we do have a breakout into like 20. I will also take a partial profit at 20 if we do get there. Yeah, I'm not going to monitor it too much. Basically, let me actually set an alert here. So I want an alert if we start going below like 18. And then also if we get towards 20, I want an alert. And that should be good. Just keep an eye on our alerts. Don't have to watch it too closely. All right, let's take a look. How do the indicators look today? So 30-minute trail is green, bouncing off that trail, starting a potential pinch for a secondary move to the upside. That would be a pivot to pivot move. Going back to that 533. Doesn't look too bad. 15-minute, let's see. 15-minute also showing that potential pinch. We had a smaller pivot to pivot here into 506. Doesn't look too bad. 5-minute had a little pinch there, kind of topped out at this point. Beautiful pivot on the low there. Not really telling you too much on the 5-minute. 1 minute, a little bit of a top pivot, 507. Keep an eye on that. Possibly pulling us back to the trail. A little bit topped out on momentum. Same thing on NASDAQ, 30-minute pinch, holding onto that trail, pivot to pivot, looking for that 875. What about the 15? Same thing, 15 showing a little bit of a trap. The bears being trapped on that sell-off right there. Not looking too bad. Pivot to pivot as well. What I mean by pivot to pivot is you have these really long pivots, and you're kind of ranging between them. So you're going from the blue pivot to the orange pivot, which would be around 884. Down to the 5-minute. There's another pivot to pivot there. Nasty 5-minute candle there. A little bit of a top doji on that 5-minute, pulling us back possibly to that trail. That pinch has come to an end on that 5-minute. 1 minute, same thing. Pivot, pulling you back to the trail. Keep an eye on the lower pivots, possibly around 760 to 770. Overall, pretty bullish, but pulling back a little bit on the lower time frames. Delta pretty green into the open here. Let's take a look at some levels. See where the market was kind of changing directions. All right, that's probably pretty good. So overnight low around the 81 level, another low around like 95, 97, and then overnight high around 507. Good morning, everybody. Morning, Future. Scott, backpacking. Let me pen the trade plan for you guys. Good morning, Boat, AT, JC, Lucio, Roman, Liquidated, Alex. Good morning, Leo, Ordinary, Jose, Fernando. Good morning, Larry. Rox, Keegan, Prophet, Adam, Lubomir, Metis. Good morning, Trent. Good morning, DS, Banana, Tamer, LDM, Greg, Tarnation, Darius, Blood. Good morning, Ram. Good morning, Trevor. Azir, Broccoli, C-Mac, Street, Monster, Michael, and eBay. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Zaya, Kyle, James, good morning, guys. A little bit of absorption here, absorbing this move up into the overnight high. A little dangerous going into the open, possibly starting a small overnight fade. Morning, Adriana. 2013. Keep an eye on those VWAPs, pulling back to VWAP 501 and 759. Definitely seeing that absorption into the open here. Not really seeing it on NASDAQ. NASDAQ still looks pretty strong. Okay, here's VWAP on ES. Little bit of a discrepancy between ES and NASDAQ. Not exactly doing the same thing here. VWAP holding for now. Big block of sellers there at VWAP. 502, 500. NASDAQ still holding above the 24. This is that pullback we talked about with those pivots. Not really seeing it on NASDAQ though. The delta still looks pretty good on ES, even though you're coming down here. We'll see if they can hold on to VWAP. It's pretty funny. NASDAQ actually has more bearish delta than ES, but ES is the one going down. Where is the weekly open? Let's go ahead and mark that out. Possibly acting as a magnet here. So 83 on ES, 673 on NQ. Still getting that September price action where it doesn't want to leave these major price pins. It is gaining a little bit of value. Last week, our price pins were kind of around the 80s. 70 to 80. Tried to gain a lot of value on Friday and then nuked. So now we're slowly trying to push that price pin a little bit higher here. That's if we can hold above 500. Losing 500 goes into an overnight fade. Right back down to the weekly open. Good morning, Faraj. Good morning, Faye, Nerd. Appreciate you guys being here. Give me 1 second. Let me check something real fast. My damn fan controller's out of whack again. Starting to like the September price action. It's honestly not bad once you get used to it. Like, once you get used to the patterns, you just have to remind yourself that, like, remind yourself what it's doing. It's sticking to price pins. The breakouts are not super trustworthy. Like I said, if you get good at those sweeps, like we're seeing one right now. If you get good at those sweeps, they happen just repeatedly in September. It's like rinse and repeat trading. You're like doing the same thing over and over and over again. I say it's terrible price action because the vast majority of traders, they're probably getting destroyed in September. Because a lot of traders, they like to take those breakouts, and then not even if they're trading breakouts, if they're trading reversals, but they don't have confidence in their trades, you do not have the luxury of waiting for the market to like confirm your trade in September. It's usually too late at that point, and it's going to chop you out, right? So you have to be very disciplined, and you have to be confident in your positions. Good morning, Suzanne. No, nerd. They're completely individual markets. So just because they're like related to the same thing, there doesn't mean they're the same like liquidity market. Their liquidity is completely individual. It's like the difference between trading SPY and then like, I don't know, what's another major SPY ETF? Name any of the hundreds, right? It's like trading SPY and then another SPY ETF that does the same thing. They track the same thing. but they have different markets entirely. That's the same thing with futures. They track the same thing, but they're different liquidity markets. Speaking of sweeps, here's another one. Single tick failure on the high. I typically recommend, if you're trading MES, to watch ES. Track ES data, track ES delta, track ES indicators, and then just trade MES. Okay, this sweep happened a little fast. I couldn't even cover it fast enough, but there is a sweep on the high here. Single tick failure. Coming back down to VWAP. MES volume has no impact? Pretty much, no. MES is mostly retail and arbitrage. The ES sell pressure might be bringing us down here. We'll keep an eye on it. Right now, it seems like our price pin is kind of around 500 to 502. We kind of want to see choppy price action, even though, I mean, it's in September. We want to see it anyway. But today and tomorrow, we want to see a pretty strong price pin, because we don't really have a lot going on until Wednesday. Wednesday's PPI, and then realistically, not until Thursday, which is CPI. If it stalls at 504 here, this could be seen as a failure to rotate, because we could say that these are rotations here. And if it stalls in the middle, it's a failure to rotate. It's not stalling right now, so it looks okay. But just keep an eye on those rotations. They are very fast rotations here, about a 10 point, maybe like a 7 point rotation. Oh, we might get stopped out on American Eagle. Getting an alert that it's trying to break 18. My trail is coming up pretty soon. What do we say it was? Let me double check. 1775. So we only have a quarter left. If it goes down a quarter, we are done. And we will be locking in about a $6 gain per share. We got in at 12. Our average exit will be around 18. Now, long term, I think this thing still has potential over the next like 3 to 6 months. I think you could get 20. I think you could get possibly even higher. Maybe like 22. But short term, being up $6 a share, 50% in the span of a month, I'm not going to hold on to that any longer. It's all about like the speed, right? If it would have given me $6 over 6 months, then I wouldn't mind holding it. But giving me a 50% move in 1 month, the likelihood of it pulling back and giving away a lot of those gains is a lot higher. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Lyft is going to give us our entry. We were looking at that one for another accumulation trade. It's up 5% today, so it looks like it's already starting that breakout. That pullback last week might have been the pullback. Pulled back to that pivot to the exact penny, I think. And it's already up $2 off that pivot, so unfortunately that might have been the play. We'll see. It is a weekly bulldog. That was the head of the bulldog. Probably going to be stopped on American Eagle any moment now. You have like 20 cents left and we're done. And this is why I'm being so aggressive with my stops. It's already down like $1 from the high. I don't short stocks very much, to be honest. I think if you're shorting stocks, you really need to be trading them on like a daily basis and paying attention to them. Shorting stocks is a much more dangerous business to be in. Good morning, Bobby. Good morning, June. Okay, still just rotating on ES here. Like I said, we're about a 7-point rotation. As long as they continue to rotate, it's perfectly fine. But if they stop rotating, like if it tries to go up and then it instantly comes back down, that is a problem. We will keep an eye on that. But right now, we are just rotating. They're not really telling us anything. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It's like you gotta pay attention when you're doing stuff like that, like shorting and then managing options. It's just all kind of a headache for me. I like the easier side of stock trading now. I used to do all that stuff. We did it in Discord for years. I just like the calmness of I guess calm is probably not the right word, but the routine of futures. I'm tired of playing that game of constantly trading individual names and managing watch lists and finding the right contracts and all that stuff. Okay, getting a little bearish here. It should be rotating. All right, right as I'm saying that, here come the buyers. We need to get buy pressure down here. We need to go back into an upper rotation. Yeah, systematic, exactly, yeah. Futures is very mechanical. It's like the most mechanical way you can trade price. Back into an upper rotation here. You need to stay above VWAP or it's going to fail to rotate, right? So right now you have a rotation basically from like 500 to like 506, 507. It is getting a bit smaller, so possibly like 505. But yeah, we are just rotating right now, back and forth, back and forth. So while we're just chopping out here, I know I haven't been putting out too many videos recently, but I am working on a couple of major series, some of the biggest series that I've done in a long time, that I am hoping to have ready in October. We're going to have like a 5-part series, and it's going to be like a crash course series, basically. I'm going to be going over basically what made me think about this series was in my tutoring sessions, I'm constantly telling people like the path that they should be learning these concepts, right? You need to learn this before you learn this. Then you need to learn this, then you can move on to this, right? So that's what the series is going to be about. The series is going to be that path, and I'm going to talk about the different concepts in the order that you should be learning them, right? So we're going to do like a 5-part series, kind of like a crash course on these different concepts that I teach. I want to have a newer series that if someone comes to my channel, I can be like, hey, go watch this series. It will get you caught up a little bit. It will give you the rundown of basically what we talk about here. And then to get the more in-depth analysis or educational material, you want to go to the actual playlist, right? They're not going to be too short. It's not going to be like a really fast crash course. I'm aiming for like 30 minutes to an hour per video, aiming for like 45 minutes. But yeah, it's going to give you like the general understanding. We're not going to go into like every single small detail. Yeah, we're going to do a 5-part series. Hoping to have it ready so we can release once a week in October. I don't know what day I'm going to release them yet. I'm thinking like Thursday or something, maybe Wednesday. Kind of like the middle of the week. But one thing I wanted to ask you guys is, so during this series, it's going to be pretty big. It's going to be one of the biggest series we've done in a long time. We're going to be doing massive giveaways. We're going to be doing Discord giveaways, Apex giveaways. I'm probably going to be giving away like a laptop or something like that. I'm going to see the logistics of how I can do that, because I know a lot of my members, big buy coming in here, by the way. 1,300 contracts at 500, still rotating. Keep an eye on 507. That's the older rotation level. You're kind of in a bearish bias right now. You're putting in lower highs. So the upper rotation is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But yeah, what I was talking about is I want to give away like a laptop as well. And do like a really big giveaway, like a trading laptop or something. But I know most of my members are not in the US. So I'll have to take a look at some of these sites that sell laptops, that if I can ship them internationally. Worst case scenario, I could just like buy it and ship it myself, but I would prefer to have the website just handle it. So yeah, we're going to be doing big giveaways. Like I said, it's going to be one of our biggest series possibly we've ever done. And one thing I wanted from you guys is throughout the series, I'm going to be showing like trade examples. So I'm going to be going over like actual trades that I took with these concepts. I know you guys have been wanting to see that for a while. So we'll go over some trade examples. But I also wanted to interview members from the community that are using these concepts, right? Volume profile, order flow, VWAP, indicators, whatever, right? Anything that we teach on this channel. So if you're somebody who has received payouts from Apex, and you are a member of the community, whether that be like a longtime viewer or preferably a Discord member. If you're somebody who would want to be interviewed, we're not going to get super personal. Like, I don't really care about the whole. I'm not going to get into your life story and stuff like that. I'm more of a technical guy, right? So I want to get into the technical nature on how you traded, how you got your payouts. You don't have to give us your exact secret sauce, but just like the general understanding of your day-to-day process, your strategy, stuff like that. Since we're doing like a 5-part series, I would want to interview like 5 people. So if you're somebody who would want to be in one of these videos, if you would want to be interviewed, you will have to show proof that you're actually receiving payouts, right? And preferably that you're using the systems that we talk about on stream. So not like an Elliott wave trader or something that I don't talk about, right? Preferably you're using the indicators or like volume profile, delta, stuff like that, right? So if you're somebody that wants to be interviewed, it's going to be next month. Possibly we'll do like a test run later this month. And then we'll get the videos ready for next month. But yeah, if you want to be interviewed, send me an email. Here's my email. Like I said, preferably we can get like 3 to 5 people. So I can't interview everybody. But yeah, like I said, if you're a part of the community, if you're receiving payouts, if you want to talk about your system, your strategy, your day-to-day trading, basically, let me know. And then depending on how that series goes, either right away or a little bit down the road, I have another series planned. It's going to be like maybe a 3 to 4 part series. And it's going to be more on like the psychological side, the risk management, the tilting, all that, the discipline, stuff like that. But yeah, just giving you guys an idea of what we're working on right now. I'm going to contact Addis and see if they want to provide some licenses for the giveaways or maybe some promo codes or something like that. I've already spoken to Apex. Apex is going to provide some, we're going to have some accounts to give away, right? And then we'll be giving away Discord access. Like I said, we'll be doing a massive giveaway for like a laptop as well. Just be ready, right? October is going to be busy, busy, busy. We're going to be pumping out content in October. And then maybe November, maybe December. But September is going to be a little bit quiet. We're going to be working, using this chop to kind of just work. Yeah, just giving you guys an idea. Yeah, like I was saying, if you want to be one of those people that are interviewed, all you really need is like have a good mic, right? We're going to be making a video out of it, so your mic has to be decent. So have a good microphone. I'm not worried about cameras. Like, you don't have to show your face or anything. I don't even show my face, right? So we're not going to get super personal. We're just going to talk about technical stuff. Just send me an email. Just show me proof that you're like consistent, you're getting payouts. And then just give me like a rundown of your strategy. Like, what are you going to talk about? And if I can get like 4 to 5 people, then we'll do that. If I can't get like more than 3 people, we probably won't do it. I'll still do the series, but I won't do the interview part, right? We'll save the interview part for later. But yeah, look out for that every week in October, maybe Wednesdays or Thursdays. All right, back to the market here. Nothing has changed. We are still just rotating, but that's if we're talking about ES. We're not rotating on NASDAQ. NASDAQ is actually pretty damn strong. NASDAQ is holding above the 80 MA here. which is a little bit worrying with how ES is rotating, right? NASDAQ might want to pull back a little bit. Good morning, Tom. That's awesome, Chris. Yeah. Yeah, I might reach out to one of our members recently. He had well, I don't want to say exactly, but he was in the top 5 for their payouts in I believe it was July or August. I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to do an interview. Okay, no change here. Still just rotating. 507 down to 500. About a 7-point rotation. Until we hold significant value above 507 or below 500, I would not be looking for any breakout trades here. Here's that pullback on NASDAQ I was talking about. Keep an eye on VWAP. I mean, this is September price action in a nutshell here. The price pin for today is basically VWAP. Just kind of rotating around VWAP. Yeah, September is basically a crash course on trading D-shape, bell curves, rotations, whatever you want to call it. If you don't know how to trade those, you'll find out very quickly in September. It's also a great reminder on why we don't trade POC nodes. You want to trade around them, right? Trade the extremes. Good morning, Chuck. Yeah, usually after September. October is kind of a continuation of September. It's kind of hit or miss. But definitely by the end of October into November, December, it's typically much, much better. Some of the best trading of the year. Yeah, October in the beginning is kind of hit or miss. Out of all the historical charts that talk about like what a month is supposed to do, a lot of the times you can't trust it, but September, for some reason, it's always spot on. It's by far the most accurate, like, historical month. What you think it's going to do, that's what it does. You can usually bet on the November, December being pretty bullish as well. That's very strong. Like the Santa rally. Um, that's usually pretty good as well. That's probably like the second most accurate. Okay, sweeping the lows. Are we rotating again? If it fails to rotate here, we'll keep a close eye on this. Might be shifting bearish. You're clustering everything together right above the price. So if it can't get back above like 503 here, it's going to fail to rotate. Yeah, these type of profiles like the D-shape, bell curves, the September chop. It's one of those times you have to remind yourself to like draw boxes, right? It's like I want to be a trader down here. I want to be a trader up here. I don't want to be a trader in the middle, right? And if you can't follow that basic method, you're gonna get chopped into oblivion in September, right? I mean, we already did it earlier. I drew all my boxes, and you can see they're being tested beautifully. So we had all these highs up here, and now we have that low right there. It's a lot easier said than done, but I'm telling you, it's something that's super simple, but it will help. Just drawing out your boxes and reminding yourself, like, this is where I want to pay attention. This is where I want to look for trades. If it's not in my boxes, I'm not trading, right? You might miss a few trades here and there. Who gives a shit, right? It's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. I started doing that like years ago when I was trading oil because oil was just so damn choppy. And oil kind of looked like this, where it had like these wicks on the highs, wicks on the lows, and then everything in between was just chopping. So I started just drawing my boxes around the wicks, and I'm like, okay, let's trade around here. And if it's not around the boxes, then we're not trading, right? Another sweep on the low, still trying to rotate. Kind of struggling here. You do have buy pressure coming in on NASDAQ, which could help this rotation. All right, upper rotation has been completed. So this rotation is getting smaller and smaller because of the lower highs, right? So it was like 507 earlier, now it's like 505. You can see the value high right here. We still have that P-shaped profile here, so as long as they hold on to that value low and the value high of Friday, we do have a very slight bullish bias. Now that's if you believe in September breakouts. Single prints on Friday, do we still have some? Let me double check. I don't remember. I think we filled them in. I think there's like one remaining. Kind of hard to tell. Yeah, it's like one remaining. One remaining to the downside. And then we have a few left open to the upside. Going up to 23. So we're kind of in the middle. Which is probably why we're so choppy. Yeah, I'm trying to work on like what concepts I want to cover in the psychological series. Because as you guys know, I don't really talk about that stuff too much. I'm very technical. But right now, some of the ideas I'm working on is obviously just like understanding risk, like understanding what you're actually putting into the trade, what you're actually risking, and being okay with that. I think a lot of people take trades and they don't fully understand, like, okay, if it goes down 10 points, how much money am I actually going to lose? Am I okay with losing that money? And I think a lot of people, they put that trade out there, they put that stop loss out there, and they think they're okay with it. But then it starts going down against them and they're not okay with it, right? The the other concepts, and I don't know if this really falls under psychological. By the way, lower rotation here going down to maybe 97, 97, 98. I don't know if this falls under psychological. It might be more technical. But I talk about this a lot in my tutoring sessions. I talk about being a mechanical trader, like focusing on not like hopes and prayers, right? Hopes and prayers are not going to help you trade. You need to build a mechanical system so that you're not inputting your feelings into your trading. You're not inputting your emotions into your trading. You're relying on a mechanical setup. You know exactly what needs to be done in that setup. Yeah, honestly, I might have to rebuy that book. I don't know where that book is. I need to rebuy Trading in the Zone and maybe steal some concepts from that. Not exactly steal, you guys know what I mean? Like go over them again. The other concepts would be like how to mentally manage your trades. Um, like what should you be doing? discipline-wise, minimizing tilt. But yeah, that series will come later. That'll probably be in November, December, so we have some time to work on that. I'm sorry, I tagged the wrong Michael. Good morning, Mauser. Yeah, I'm sure there's like an AI program I could probably find that would do like instant subtitles or something like that. Um, but I don't know how accurate they would be. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't let me do closed captions with the live stream. I think it's because of the delay. If you stream with like a very short delay, it doesn't have the closed captions. Here's VWAP. VWAP coming up at 835 on NASDAQ. Possibly failing to rotate here, not getting back above VWAP. Yeah, Drago, and that's kind of what I explain to people is that's something that I cannot teach. I cannot teach the feeling that you get from just seeing your pattern that you like to trade over and over and over again. And you have like this intuition of like, you feel like it's going to be a good one or a bad one, you know what I mean? And I can't teach that. That's something that has to be learned through screen time. It's one of the things that I really try to stress in a lot of my videos, like the playbook videos, because people are constantly saying like, I don't know exactly where you enter, like the exact time I press the button, right? I can't teach you that. It's like impossible to teach. I can teach your zone, like where you're looking to trade. I can teach the mechanical nature of the trade, like where we are looking to put our stop loss, where we're looking to put our targets. But I can't teach you that like exact moment that my brain is like, okay, press the button. That's just impossible to teach. If I could give you a like what 11 to 12 years of screen time, thousands of hours. Like I don't know how many hours I have at this point, but it has to be over 10,000. If I could give you all those hours, I would, but I can't. The platform that I'm using right now is AD. It's ATAS. It's an order flow platform. Most of the indicators you see on my screen are like EMAs. I got like an 8 EMA, a 24. I've got a couple of VWAPs. So I have the daily VWAP, the session VWAP. I have the cumulative volume delta, CVD, down here. These are delta charts. These are tapes. Time in sales. This one's filtered for 25. This one's filtered for 100. This is a NASDAQ tape filtered for 10. This is market profile. That's volume profile. And that's a DOM. Congrats, you just lost half people for telling the truth. I don't think so, because I've built my community on telling the truth like that for years. So I think everyone here understands that point. I'm not here to tell you guys this shit's easy. This shit ain't easy. If you want somebody to baby you and tell you that it's easy and pat you on the head, that ain't me. That is the big trades indicator. Where is it? Right here. That's the big trades indicator. Here's the list of indicators on this screen if you guys need them. Here's that failure to rotate that we just talked about. So you were not able to get back above VWAP. So now we are failing to rotate. We are slightly bearish. This gets dangerously bearish if we stay below 500 for a bit longer here. Starting to re-enter Friday's value. Possibly looking to trade these lows here, the overnight low. What was your question, Mauser? I didn't see it. Here's VWAP on NASDAQ. So here's that pullback that we were talking about earlier on NASDAQ. So NASDAQ was trying to break out, but you were heavily rotating on ES. So if ES was correct, you can't trust this breakout. And there you go. You see that pullback. Rollover top on NASDAQ. Yeah, you could have called it one. Yeah. You could have called that a rollover top. It's not the cleanest because this push-up is pretty strong. But this lower high is very clean. This would be a very good example of a market structure shift where you have higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, but then you have a very clear lower high here. Which I do need to start taking notes for like all these examples for this series, so let me start doing that. Because that is a very good example. Not finding a lot of value below this value low here, so they lost 500, but this breakout is not really finding anything. If they can't build a node down here pretty soon, it's just going to return right back to that pin. And our pin today is like 502. Good morning, Angelo. You mean like a rebound? Yeah, it could be rebounding into the value low and then selling again. We'll have to see how it reacts. I didn't see it, Tamer. I was very busy this weekend. Was it a fight night or was it a big fight? Okay, right back into rotation here. And this is a strong rotation. This is probably the strongest rotation so far today. And there's your favorite sweep pattern, your favorite September pattern, I mean. There's that sweep. So you tried to break below 500. Look at the fall off here. Look at the exhaustion on that node. Completely fell off, not finding really any sell pressure on that breakout. And that's an extremely strong breakout. Well, it could be going back into Friday's value. So They have a potential there. They have the potential for massive profit. So they should be coming in. So the fact that they are not coming in on that low goes right back to rotation, right? That's a big red flag that they are not willing to sell that, even though they are back into Friday's value. All right, back into this rotation, so nothing's changing. Look for the same exact thing on the upside. So if they try to break and hold above like 507, we'll look for that same exhaustion to the upside, not finding any node, right? We'll see if they can build a node up here. Yes, we do have single prints going up to 23. So if we do have a strong breakout here and it actually builds a node above 507, you are looking for that 23 area. The bottom did fill in that last single print. So we had a single print going down to 95, perfectly repaired it. Okay, keep an eye on this node here. It's not really where you want it to be. It's not high enough. But if they rotate below that node, it's getting pretty weak. They need to stay above that 508. Yeah, once you get used to the rotations and you remind yourself that the breakouts are not very they're not likely, right? The probability of the breakouts is pretty low, obviously to a certain degree. Once you've had a bunch of rotations, the probability goes up, right? But yeah, it's all about reminding yourself to trust the value levels. I think a lot of people see these breakouts or they see these pushes into the value high, value low, and they're always like, okay, this is the time. This is the time it's going to break. And then it doesn't. Now it does get a little worrying after it's rotated like 7 times. So you're like, okay, it kind of needs to get away from this range. Oh, somehow I got muted. Sorry. What I was saying was we need to build a node around 12 to 15. Sorry, guys, my throat's already shot on Monday. Not a good look. And then we're looking for the single prints into 23. I was saying that this breakout is probably the strongest one so far because they are holding that node above 07, and they tried to rotate below it and they bounced off of it. So, little bit of a breakout here. You got long at 99. Yeah, that's a great long. Yeah, the sweep. Yeah, it's a fantastic trade. Yeah, it's a scary trade. The sweeps are scary. The sweeps you really have to get used to. They're definitely scary trades. Because you pretty much need them to be right immediately. You don't have a lot of time for them to like play around. You need it to be going in your direction pretty much right away. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Is if you prefer those trades that pretty much tell you right away if you're right or wrong. That's one of the good trades for your system, the sweeps. The sweeps typically they're gonna do just that. They're gonna tell you if you're right or wrong pretty much immediately. Sometimes you'll get like a retest. So kind of like right here, you had like a sweep and then it came down and retested the wick. So sometimes you'll get those wick retest. Used to see that a lot in crypto. Trading like Bitcoin, trading altcoins. You would get a lot of those wick retest. Yeah, Chuck, I cover that a lot in tutoring recently. I've seen a lot of my members having that issue. Um, with wanting to see confirmation, but at the point that they feel like, okay, it's confirmed, the trade is kind of already like being completed. The trade is already pretty much getting to your targets. So you have to find that sweet spot of like, yes, I'm getting confirmation, but the trade isn't just already over. The trade's not halfway complete, 75% complete. It's really finicky. You got to find that sweet spot. But that is a big issue. I see that issue time and time again. And that comes back to the thing that I always tell them is I talk about finding the mechanical entry. Like finding where you have this like zone of where you should be entering that trade. And if you're entering the trade outside of the zone, you're too late. We call it the optimal entry, right? It's your optimal entry zone or point, whatever you want to call it. So, like for a sweep, if I'm looking at an optimal entry for this sweep, the absolute best place is the actual sweep, right? The low. Now, not everyone's going to be that fast. So if I had to say what an optimal zone would be, it'd be like a little bit around it, right? A little bit below it, a little bit above it. So if it like sweeps and then comes back a little bit, if you still think it's a sweep, you could get in a little bit lower. I don't really recommend that too much. It's a little bit riskier. But then once you trade above it, if you start seeing that delta flip, you could trade a few points above it as well. So like that's kind of like your optimal entry. But if you're trading a sweep like way up here, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm trading the sweep. There's a sweep way back here. Like that's not a sweep trade. You're nowhere even near that sweep. That sweep is like 5 points away from you. So that's what I mean by like having an optimal entry. Okay, we're not really building a node up here. Keep an eye on this node around like 11 to 15-ish. We need a new node. It doesn't build a new node, it's going to come right back. Yeah, this sweep is really good. This is like an exhaustion sweep. It's not absorption, but they are exhausted. They're not finding any volume. There's just no volume below 500, which they should have been getting. That is a very good break because that goes back into Friday's value. So it's not like they're not being offered anything. They're being offered a pretty big trade here. They just didn't want to take it. Same thing on this move here. They're being offered a very big trade, filling in the single prints into 23. So if they don't put in a node pretty soon, it's going to come right back down. When I say they, I'm just referring to price. I'm just referring to like the market. Yeah, when I say building a node, I'm looking at a couple things here. I'm looking at this profile right here because we have this volume profile, so we can see that node building up. We want the node to be building up more volume than where the value high is. So we look at the volume like right around the value high. We want these nodes to be relatively the same or larger. Another place we can look is on the DOM. I have my nodes on the DOM as well. And then another place we can look is on the candle. It's all the same. It's all the same. Like these are all the same exact profiles. It's just whichever one is more visually appealing? Like which one makes more sense to you? But that's why I have them everywhere. Is they're very important, right? We need to see where that volume's coming in. There's no right or wrong on like how fast it needs to do it. It just depends on what the price is doing, right? Like if the price is moving very fast, very volatile, then they need to build that node very fast. What's going on, Michael? Oh, did you guys see the blood moon last night? We unfortunately couldn't see it in basically anybody in the Western Hemisphere. More no. There's going to be a solar eclipse on September 21st. Gotcha. Yeah, hopefully we can see that one. Should be good. Yeah, this is just a daily. This is just a it's the current day. So it's starting at 9:30. Yeah, I guess it didn't really matter that we couldn't see it because I completely forgot about it. I thought it was in a couple days. So I would have missed it anyway. I believe this move on American Eagle will probably stop us out and finally close that trade. You failed the VWAP retest at 18.15. If it goes down 20 more cents, our 50% target will be closed. They are building a node here at 11. They're rotating very slightly. 2 points up, about 2 points down. Probably even 1 point down. So if they lose like 10 here, they're losing the node. You basically watch these nodes. We talked about this a lot last week. But you watch these nodes the same way you watch a larger value area. You watch those rotations. We go up a couple points, we go down. We go up a couple points, we go down, right? So they're just rotating back and forth. So once that rotation stops happening, that's telling you something. So right now we're rotating down to like 10 and then up to like 13. And that's what I call building a node, right? Because how do you build nodes? You rotate. You just sit there and balance. No, I've never been solo. We just got our first one in our states. I think it's like an hour away or something, though. It's pretty far. But I know people were going crazy when they opened it here. I've heard they actually have good food, too. I think that's who I'm thinking of. They've got like good barbecue or something. It's like a tourist attraction, yeah. Sorry, guys, he's talking in Discord. We're talking about Buc-ee's. Okay, so now we're starting to launch off that node. So we're failing to rotate to the downside, which is bullish, right? So we're continuing to push. Now look at what time it is. They picked a bad time to push that. But what is their favorite thing to do? They love creating new single prints when they're filling in old single prints. So we're filling in the single prints up to 23, but we're creating new ones going down to 10. They love doing that. So it seems that P-shape imbalance is winning here. So the P-shape imbalance that we talked about on the trade plan is bullish leaning. Now with a P-shape, you have a lot of chop, right? Because you have, like what's a P-shape showing you? A P-shape is showing you a long lower tail and then a D-shape. So the D-shape, you have a lot of chop until it finally decides, is this a trap where we just nuke the tail? Or is it not a trap and it's actually a bullish bias extending the upper tail? So right now we're going for the more probable of the two, which is extending the upper tail. So we protected the value low right here. Now we're extending the upper tail. And that tail extension, if you want to be exact, you can grab the lower tail, see how large it is, and then take that to the upper tail, and then it lines up perfectly with the single prints there, a little bit higher at 25. So we're about halfway complete here. Same thing on NASDAQ. NASDAQ's kind of already completed. So we have that lower tail here. Yeah, you can't really do it on NASDAQ. So the value high would have been somewhere around here before we pushed up. So it would have been like right here if I look at the overnight. So that tail extension is already complete on NASDAQ. Okay, pulling back a little bit here, possibly repairing the single print. They want to hold below 12. If they hold below 12, you will not create any new ones. Keep an eye on those trails. You do have a little bit of a bear div up here. Bear div in delta and momentum. If you guys are enjoying the stream, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. If you guys weren't in here earlier, I'm not going to give the whole speech again, but I will be putting out some new series next month. Putting in a lot of the groundwork for that series now, so don't expect too many videos in September, but we will have a bunch of videos coming out in October and possibly November as well. September is going to be kind of like the grind month. We got to put a lot of the work in, and then they'll come out later. Yeah, a couple new series coming out. First series will be just kind of like a crash course on all the concepts that we teach. And then second series will be more on like the discipline, psychological side. Putting in a lower high here, possibly. Could be a rollover top, filling in that, or being helped by that bear div. Bear div on momentum and on delta. American Eagle nearly stopping us out. Needs like 10 more cents to the downside. Putting in a pivot here might save our position. We'll see. Like I said, at this point, I don't really care if it stops us out. Our entry's at 12, so it doesn't really matter. A pretty nasty top doji on the daily on American Eagle. Top doji on Friday being confirmed with the sell-off today. By the way, we did not have any single prints. If there was one, it got filled in immediately. Still building up that node at 11 or like 12. Yeah, some New York Fed numbers coming out might be giving us a little bit more volatility. It doesn't seem like the market cares. If they don't break this lower high here pretty soon, this does look like a either a rollover or it's turning into a vertical distribution. I would say if you break out here and we start filling in those single prints back to 23, this would be a vertical distribution because the delta is not following you. So at that point, you would be watching the 24 EMAs and the trails to see if they continue to push you up. Looks like it's closer to a vertical distribution. What gives me that thought is it seems like it's that pattern with the vertical distribution that you put in a poor high, you chop out a little bit, you repair the poor high. Put in another poor high, chop out a little bit, repair the poor high. That's kind of what it's setting up for here. The one thing hurting the idea of the vertical distribution is NASDAQ. NASDAQ is clearly downtrending. Lower highs, lower lows, failing the 24. So if NASDAQ is leading here, ES will not be in a vertical distribution. We'll see which one's leading here. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. Let's take a look at the weekly profile since it is Monday. I've been meaning to do that more on Mondays. So we have the value high of last week, trading around like 506. Last week's VWAP at 480. POC is at 86. Value low is at 415. So we're still hovering towards the high of that last week value. And if we do come down a little bit towards that pin level, the pin was around like 80 to 70. That could be a lot of support. So we'll see how that reacts. Now, with that said, we have already kind of done that. We did it right on the Friday move, right? So Friday, we shot down into that weekly pin level. Let me full screen this. We shot down to that weekly pin, which is that massive node here. And then look at where it bounced. It bounced right off that weekly VWAP. This blue line here is the weekly VWAP. So we kind of already retested that weekly pin during the week. So if it goes for a second retest, that'd be kind of scary, to be honest. It'd be scary for the buyers because the support's kind of already been used. It's not like a naked support. And then to the upside here, we had a massive node around 11. That's kind of where we were sitting today. And then we have a massive node at what looks to be like 40. Yeah, around like 40, 37 to 40. Yeah, here's that vertical distribution we were talking about. There's that poor high being repaired. So this is that pattern that I was saying with a vertical distribution. If you look at the market profile, you typically put in poor highs and then just repair them and rinse and repeat. Hey, Deb, have a good day, man. Yes, you can split it. I believe there's a hotkey. I think you just press. Yeah, there you go. You can split it. I don't keep it split because I'm watching a 30-minute profile right here, or 30-minute chart, and it's pretty much the exact same thing. But yeah, you can set up a hotkey in the settings for the indicator, and then you can split it. So right now we are just in that vertical distribution. We are trending up, but it's a weak trend. It's one of those trends where you're like, I don't really know. It probably shouldn't be doing this. It gives you that weird feeling that you just feel like it's going to crash at any moment. That is a vertical distribution, right? If we're constantly coming back and testing those responsive levels, the candle lows, the EMAs, the trails, whatever it may be, and it's still going up, that's a vertical distribution, right? They're very hard patterns to trade because, like I said, they give you that feeling that it should just be crashing, it should be going back down. But we don't know how long it's going to be doing that. Sometimes they could be an hour, sometimes they could be all day. Like right now, we have a lot of sell pressure coming in. It looks like they're playing out that bear div. They have a sweep here. They have a lot of reasons to go down, but is it actually going to go down? That is the hard part. You just don't know. They are very hard patterns to trade. One thing I wanted to run by you guys for the some ideas that I have for this series for next month. So how we're going to be managing the series is it's going to be like a 5-part series. They're just going to be videos, right? They're not going to be live streams. So I was thinking for like questions, because we're doing them once a week, so it gives us a decent amount of time for people to have like questions on the video if something didn't make sense or whatever. So what I was thinking of doing is, let's say we released a video on Wednesday, maybe Thursday, kind of like the middle of the week. Then later in that week, we could do like a Q&A live stream. So like maybe on the weekend, maybe on Friday, I don't know. We'll figure out what works. But later in the week, it would have to be like after hours, though. It couldn't be during market hours. So it'd have to be later in the day. Then the timing's kind of weird because, like I said, a lot of my viewers are in Europe. So if we do it after hours, it would be a little late in the day. But does that general idea, would you guys like that? Or would you like me just to answer questions like in the comments? Would you guys like me to do like a Q&A stream like after the video is released? Or would you rather just me answer questions on the live streams, like the normal live streams? Because we could put them all into like, I'm thinking like long term, we could put them all into a playlist. So we have like the playlist of the 5 videos, but then we also have the playlist of like the Q&A session. I'll have to find like what day of the week would be best. By the way, this does look like a decent down move. The delta's actually coming in here. Looks like they're trying to break this vertical distribution. The key thing you want to watch for, and a lot of the times it doesn't give it to you, but the key thing you want to watch for here, and I talk about this in the vertical distribution videos, when you lose the 24 EMA like this, you want to watch for that pullback, that rebound. Are we still putting in a lower high below that 24 or right around that 24? That's like that final confirmation that it's very likely going to be failing. It's going to be going back down. A lot of the times, though, if it's very aggressive, it doesn't give you that pullback, unfortunately. So we'll have to see if it gives it to you. Okay, you guys like the idea for a Q&A stream? Okay. I'll have to think about like when to do it. If we release the videos on like Wednesday, we could probably do the Q&As on like either a Friday or on the weekend, maybe Sunday. I don't have much of an audience on weekends though. We'll work it out. We still have time, right? We still have like a month to get ready. We'll work out what's best. Here's VWAP on NASDAQ. Below this VWAP, you have the next VWAP at 817. Yeah, nighttime's hard though, because nighttime is it's really late for a lot of my viewership. Because a lot of my viewership is like plus 5 hours, plus 7 hours. Well, I was just about to go over this pattern that kind of answers your question. So this pattern here, we talk about this a lot in the sweep videos. This is like the best pattern for the sweep. So let's ignore the vertical distribution here. Ignore that that's happening. Let's talk about just the sweep pattern. What we want to see on a sweep is we want to see trapped buyers, because this is a bearish sweep, right? So we want to see trapped traders. Then we want to see a delta flip. So we want to see the delta that's trapped flipping to the other delta. And you typically want that delta flip to be happening around that sweep level, going back to what we talked about earlier in the stream. You want it to be close to that optimal entry, right? Now, the problem with this one is this is like a single tick failure. You only ticked it twice. So you only went above that by 2 ticks. So the optimal entry is not going to be above that at all. It's going to be below it. So you're going to have to be a little bit late on that one. But seeing that delta flip, that's really good. You want to see that delta flip on these sweeps. Like I said, the only downside with this one is you have to be a little bit late because it didn't give you much of a wick. Yeah, exactly. Weekends and Fridays are usually, it's hard for traders, right? Because we want our time off. That's why I stopped doing the weekly videos on Sundays. Nobody watches them, right? My weekly viewership, or sorry, weekend viewership is basically non-existent. So we might try Fridays, maybe. We'll see. I'll keep asking you guys throughout the next few weeks, and we'll see what the consensus is. So my older sweep videos, I talk about waiting for the close, but that's because the market was very slow. The market is very fast now, so we can't really wait for these candles to close anymore. If you want to wait for closes, you have to do like maybe a 15-minute candle, maybe a 5-minute candle. You can't really wait for the 30-minute candles. They're just way too slow. Or sorry, the close is too slow, but the market is too fast, right? By the time the 30-minute closes, the sweep is basically already completed. So your optimal entry is around the sweep level, give or take a few points. Yeah, and it's football season. Yeah, I'm not a big football guy, so I don't care about that, but I know that it is football season, so that will be harder for my American viewers. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Friday. I mean, worst case scenario, we could just take like a day off from trading. We could take like a Friday, Not the morning session, but like the afternoon session. We could do like the Q&A stream during market hours, but in the afternoon when it's typically slower. That wouldn't be a big deal. So here's that pullback that I was talking about. So with a vertical distribution coming to an end, you want to see it losing the 24, and then you want to see a lower high below the 24, preferably. If it's slightly above the 24, that's okay as long as it's still a lower high. But the lower high is very important if you want this to be an end, like this pattern to end. We need to see that lower high. Basically what happened right here on NASDAQ. So NASDAQ bounced off the 24, which wasn't the greatest, but we had that lower high. And then same thing here, lower high. The lower highs kill the vertical distribution. Exactly, Lee, yeah. Yeah, I'm leaning towards like maybe doing it during market hours on Friday, maybe like after 12 o'clock. So like while I'm waiting on questions, we could just like talk about what's going on in the market or something. We have something to look at. I would have to release the videos on Wednesday because Thursday would only give you guys like a day to watch it. But maybe release the video on Wednesday, Q&A on Friday. And that gives you enough time to kind of get ready for the next video. Yeah, Fridays your discipline's kind of slipping because you're just ready for the week to be over. You're ready for your weekend. And if you had a bad week, you're just kind of on tilt at that point. Like if you're losing every day, you've lost Monday through Thursday, you're pretty pissed by Friday. The other side of it is if you're doing really well on Monday through Thursday, you're like you're in that bad mindset of, oh, it's free money, it's house money, which I tell you guys, you never want to be in that mindset. You never want to think about like, oh, I've got all this money I made on Monday through Thursday, I could just give up some of it. I don't lose anything, right? It's all free money. It's a bad mindset, right? You don't want to have that mindset. That's why you want to give yourself like an allowance of if you made $500 Monday through Thursday, maybe give yourself like a $200 allowance or something. You don't want to give up your entire week. And we're going to talk about stuff like that on the discipline videos. Bouncing off VWAP to the exact tick on NASDAQ. Not really seeing that lower high right now on ES. You need to start seeing some sellers here. Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be great, man. I think the series will be good. We haven't done a series like this in a while. We will see how it goes. I think we got stopped out on American Eagle. Let me double check. I think we got stopped out like to the penny. Yeah, we did. We got stopped out to the penny. So the American Eagle trade is fully closed. Our average exit is around 18. Our entry was 12. So closing for about a 50% share gain in, let me see the exact date. The exact date was August 4th, so almost exactly a month, actually. August 4th to September 4th, and then today. So there you go. There is a prime example of that pattern that we've been talking about for a long time, that accumulation pattern that we like to trade. On the watch list for our next accumulation stock trade, we have Intel, Rivian, and Lyft. Those are the three that we're watching. Unfortunately, Lyft might be doing it already. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Lyft might be breaking out already. The proper buy on Lyft probably would have been around 15. It's already at 17. Intel is kind of dependent on what goes on with that government deal. And then Rivian's just a hard one. Rivian's like right in the middle of the range. So we don't really have a good buy yet. But those are the next ones we're keeping an eye on. American Eagle, fantastic. Hopefully they can play out like American Eagle. That is basically the prime example of that pattern. And these are not always like short-term positions like that. Like that was a month. Typically these take way longer than that. Typically they're going to take a quarter or two, like 3 to 6 months. We just got lucky with American Eagle because we traded it around a massive catalyst with that Sydney Sweeney campaign they were doing. That caused a big spike in the people trading that stock. And also earnings. They massively beat earnings. So we kind of got lucky on earnings there. But yeah, typically those positions you're going to have to hold for a lot longer. Well, I know the YouTube chat has like a Q&A function, but I've never tried it. What does this do? Let me see. Test. What does that do for you guys? Does it just pull up like another tab that you guys can like post questions into? I've never actually tried using that. Same pattern we talked about earlier with the poor highs. So it looks like that vertical distribution is not over. We do not have that confirmation. So earlier we were saying we need to see that lower high to confirm that that is being lost, right? The vertical distribution is being lost. We do not have that. You're back above the 24 EMA, putting in a higher high here. Okay, that's cool. All right, yeah, so we can do it that way. It is a little bit annoying. I have to like click to the question chat and then click back to the live chat. But yeah, we'll test it out. Because I feel like if we're doing a Q&A stream, the entire live chat would basically be questions. So I don't know if we need to make a separate chat for that. We could probably just keep it in the live chat. That's probably better for like people that are getting thousands of viewers. Okay, one thing we are still seeing here is absorption. The buyers are still being absorbed at 15 to 16. But unfortunately, this is the problem with vertical distributions. It constantly gives you sell signals. It gives you sweeps. It gives you absorption. It gives you bear divs. 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 times, they don't work. The sell signals don't work. Yeah, it depends on how many viewers we get. Like if there's like an unusual amount of viewers, we'll do the Q&A thing. If we have the normal amount of viewers, I'm thinking we're even gonna have lower amount. We'll probably have like 100 viewers or something. So we'll probably be fine just doing the live chat. Check out open. I can take a look. Is it in one of those patterns we like? No. Yeah, I'm not touching that. That is out of that pattern. So this would have been a trade back in June when it was 70 cents. Now it's $7. So this is kind of the pattern. It's kind of the pattern, but it's too late. It's already breaking out, unfortunately. So it's like American Eagle. Like you're not trading American Eagle here. It's already breaking out. You would have traded it back at like $9 to $12 where we traded it. You're not going to trade it at 18. Now, obviously, a year from now, it could be 30 or 40, and we're like, oh, we could have traded it, but that's not what we're looking for. Yeah, if you're in at 225, you're looking good. Okay, what it's looking like it's doing now, let's go to the 5-minute here. It looks like we're shifting into a 5-minute vertical distribution, which is painful because you typically watch these on a 1-minute. The 5-minute ones get pretty damn choppy, as we're seeing right now. Keep an eye on this 30-minute low. I don't believe... Yeah, we have not lost a 30-minute low today because the only loss that we had was a sweep, which I do not consider a loss. So we have not lost a 30-minute low. Which, by the way, that's why I have these candles colored. If they are yellow, they're breaking the high. If they're purple, they're breaking the low. If they're teal, they're breaking the high and the low. If they're not colored, if they're like red or green, they're inside bars. So right now, this is an inside bar. I have them colored like that so I can just quickly visualize if we're one time framing or not. It says I'm lagging on Discord, but I think the stream is... Yeah, the stream should be fine. These delta candles, I have the delta colored candles on Addis. They help visualizing the vertical distribution because look at this. Like this is pretty much a prime example. You see how we're like chopping up and it looks like there's like this imaginary like trend line right here. But look at our delta. So we're going up, but the candles are red because the delta is red. So that's just kind of confirming that this is a vertical distribution. All right, let's get rid of a couple of these levels here that have been tested. Here's that 24 EMA on the 5-minute. Okay, that is the first low we've lost today. We'll see if it sweeps it. We did have a sweep earlier. Here comes VWAP. And this right here is the problem with the vertical distributions, right? They eventually give you the sell-off, which always makes you want to short them when they are going up. They show you the potential to the downside, but it's so hard to figure out which one of those sell signals is going to be the actual sell signal, right? If you are shorting vertical distributions, you really want to have a lot of confluence, right? You want everything to be lining up, pivots, shading. You want the sweeps, you want the absorption, you want the bear divs. If you're just going off like one thing, like a bear div or something like that, it's probably not going to be enough. Bouncing off VWAP for now. But all right, guys, on that note, we are going to call it there. I appreciate you guys being here as always. I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day. If you guys are in Discord, I'll see you guys there. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll see you tomorrow. Same time as always. Keep a lookout for this rotation here. We are returning back to balance, possibly rotating back down to 97. If it holds below 97, it gets very dangerous for the buyers, mainly on ES, because we are going back into Friday's value. So if we see a lot of sell pressure below today's value low, back to the weekly open, back to the value low. Just watch the trade plan. NASDAQ, not as weak. We could lose quite a bit here on NASDAQ and still be above value. So it doesn't look as bad. But if you start losing like this overnight range low, back to the weekly open, back to the value low. So right now, just going back into balance. I wouldn't say it's overly bearish. Just going back into that pen level. Very typical September price action. It finds a level it likes. It just gets glued to it. Can't trust the breakouts too much. But all right, guys, I'll see you in Discord. If you're not there, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex. I don't know if they have a big sale going on right now. It might only be 50% off. If you want to try out Addis, they still have those promotions going on. You can take a look at the promo codes on our pinned message. If you guys would like a 30-day trial to test them out before using the promo code, just send me an email. Sign up for a regular free trial. Let me know, hey, I signed up. Here's my email. I'll get your free trial extended for 30 days. It will give you a full access trial for that 30 days. But yeah, guys, that's all I got. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.